Greetings. We are here presenting ourselves to you.
Greetings.
We are Arcturian, and we are here with a message for all of you.
And is this an individual Arcturian speaking, or are you a collective?
We always come through as a collective, and you know this from the last time we have spoke. I am
Oh,
Sha-na of the Arcturians.
and I can't remember. Are you the same Arcturian that I spoke with last time?
Yes,
Okay, I can't remember your name.
that is okay. We forgive you. Now we understand that there is many things happening on the planet at this time. Much of what you are perceiving around you is changing in every day, constantly. And some of these changes are perceived as negative for many of you. But keep in mind that there are things beyond your sight that are happening that are beneficial to these circumstances of your life. With such responsibility, there are things that can be announced. There are some things that we can say. Because of timelines, we must be mindful of what we say in these regards. So, did you have any questions for us? We would say, firstly.
Yeah, just basically from what you just stated, you referenced many changes. Can you be specific and name some of the changes specifically of what we might be experiencing from your perspective?
Yes, from our perspective, we can see a shift in humanity. It is bubbling up under the surface in the Americas. It is a united force that is coming forward at this time, and it is about to arise like a volcano. We are regarding the political situation which is taking place in the Americas at this time.
And when you say the Americas, is that just North America, or does that also include South America?
Primarily the North America and northern parts of the United States.
Okay. And when you talk about a ground swelling, can you be a little bit more specific of what you mean?
Yes, we would not say lava as a volcano. We would say the political system. To be more specific, we would say the people are communicating underground quite rapidly, and they are not living underground, but they are communicating quietly amongst each other as to not be seen. And there is perhaps an uprising which is brewing that will take place in some time, we will say.
And is that, and are you speaking of an uprising among the humans?
It is solely by humans, yes.
And is this uprising violent in nature or just civil conflict?
It is primarily civil conflict, but there are always those extreme people that exist which tend to take advantage of fragile circumstances, and they tend to light fires when something is not intended to light.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify, what you meant specifically about the changes and what the uprising meant, what specifically you were talking about. Because I think for those of us who are here in the northern, in North America, these developments are very visible, very prevalent. So we know of what you speak.
This is why we are here talking with you, as you are in the midst of such circumstance, and we are here to help you through this situation with guidance. We would say, in order to avoid such circumstance, it is inevitable that it will happen according to your timeline, which you are within. But we would say that there are things that you can do in taking precautions of measures. We do not believe that many people's houses will be destroyed. We do not believe that it will be individual peoples will be hurt or damaged as from a public standard. But it is possible, as this is a directed attack at some individuals of political stature. So, in order to prepare yourself, we would say make sure you have resources on hand. Make sure you have electricity or perhaps candles prepared. It is possible that the government may take extreme measures in order to quell such, we are searching for a term, an uprising, we would say, amongst the people. So we would say for everyone to just make preparations, just in case. And the worst case situation is that you have extra food for next week or for perhaps 2 or 3 weeks. And this will not be a bad thing.
So it sounds like this turmoil that you're suggesting is about to happen, or it's in the process of happening, that is it something that's necessary in order for us to get to the other side?
It is an inevitable future that we have seen. And this is the only reason why we are allowed to talk about it. Because in order for this chick to be born, it is required that it will crack an egg. The egg will crack. And this cracking of the egg will do, it seems like it is damaging. We are having some difficulty with our communication. But we would say, in order for the chick to become alive, it is required that you crack the egg. Now, the chick can crack its own egg, and that is what it is doing. In order to break the shell of discommunication between the people and the politics, it is required that such egg is broken, and this shell, it should be discarded, as it is not required to be present between the people and the politics. The people are the politics, and it is important that they find their way to communicate with such people without being filtered heavily of information that they should be able to access. And for this very reason, many of the people are getting ready.
A lot of the information that people are receiving is false. There's been a lot of coverage and a lot of discord regarding the information because the information comes from a very wide range of sources, whether it's mainstream, whether it's fringe, whether it's just alternative views. Now, information that comes from fringes, from individuals that have popular blogs, is the information is just simply false. So a lot of the political discord and a lot of the civil unrest, in my view, is a lot of it is a struggle between what is truth and what is lies. And there's large segments of the population. Each segment, of course, believe their version of the truth is the fact, and the other as well. So that's where this conflict is coming from, in my view. It's a conflict of what is truth. And that's what I don't know what the answer is for that, given the free flowing of such a wide variety of information that is not factual. And I don't know what the remedy is for that. Is that something you would be able to provide some insight on? Like, how do you move past and get together as a people when everyone is fed different information?
Yes, and this is precisely the analogy that we used earlier regarding the shell of the egg. Now, use your imagination to see the shell. The shell represents the filter. It represents those which stand united against the truth of information from coming forward. This is the media. This is many groups which twist information and fact checkers, things of this nature that have been driving people near to insanity in some situations because they know that the information is there and they are frustrated, which brings anger. And with anger brings chaos in some circumstances within the mind. Some people are so frustrated that this shell exists, and they are so frustrated that they will break it. As the chick breaks it with its beak, the humans will seem to break it with their head, just in order to crack the shell slowly, so that it may fall off and they can live their life freely again and begin to walk upon the surface. So this analogy that we have given you is one that we see as suitable because it represents the filter of media and the control mechanisms that go hand in hand with such a thing.
And what would you say about the filtration of false information from media? Let me expand on that a little into context for you.
Please.
How do you filter out or get people to realize what is truth and what is not. That seems to be the real core of the issue, in my view, is the ability to discern between truth and lies.
Sometimes it is required that one breaks the rules in order to create new ones. And we would change the entire system by saying chickens are not allowed to lay eggs with shells on them anymore. Now, to make sense of our analogy, as it is a bit of a stretch for some people, we understand, perhaps most even. It is as if we have to change the rules of the game in order to change the filter, in order to change the lies. A rule must be changed. And that rule is that your media cannot just create constructs of thoughts and negative things that enfeeble the mind of the populace. It cannot be that the media, we would say, it is not just the media, so we are reluctant to use this word, but we would say the media for generalization, and you can generalize with this format of word, that they should be required to change the content that they are giving to the people, because they are not giving the content which is true. They are giving the embellished version of the chaotic experiences that you are having, and they are expanding upon them. They are making a pile of sand into a mountain, and it is not good for the collective consciousness of humanity to do such a thing. The news is a program to watch, to attain views. And initially, actually, it is depicted in a movie that you watched called Ron Burgundy, Anchorman. He, in the show, represents the first news anchor to make the news exciting by showing terrible things. What began as a gag, as somewhat of a joke to get more views, ended up washing over all of the truth that the news once presented, as it is sometimes more exciting to see things that are bad rather than things that are regular and normal and good. So because of this wash, this whole system has been influenced in a negative way. And because there are so many people that watch the news, it affects the collective of humanity in a negative way. If it was more wholesome, if it was more loving, then it would change humanity quickly in a positive direction rather than being attracted to that which is fear, full of fear, chaos, and the things of nightmares. Find inspiration, find empowerment, find endurance within yourself, and then the system will begin to heal.
I would agree with that. And I think to expand on that, I think, there's a wide form of media. I'll just, keep it in context of, let's say, mainstream media, which in itself is split. And people, humans, have a tendency to watch the media that reflect their views. Let's say a particular media outlet plays to a specific demographic, a specific type of belief systems. And true to what you say, they exploit that and embellish and create, misinformation and broadcast that to their viewers because that's what they love to hear, because it's perceived as, it's negative information towards what they perceive to be their enemy, and whether it's factual or not. So there's this divide between people are only wanting to hear content that only align with their views, as opposed to wanting to actually know the truth.
Now imagine if, as you are developing in school, if you believed one thing and school directed you to just believe in one thing and not to be open-minded as to the perceptions and angles of other groups, how would you grow and develop? Your life would be very one-sided, and you would not be open to many different experiences in your life, which would be very unfortunate. But because the media is not school, it is able to do such terrible things. And it truly does control the mind and angles it in a particular way which they see is best for humanity. But as you can tell from civil arrest, that it is not the way that most people are happy to receive. It is the way of those who are more docile and do not care to take charge of their life. They are not necessarily bad people. They are just people who are okay with things the way they are, and they rather live their life listening to what others tell them to do. And there are many people, and they have good design. But because there are many of these people upon the planet, rather than people who lead, then there is little resistance to change such systems by these people. And if approximately 50 to 60% of the population are people that will naturally follow rather than lead a particular situation, then they have a great army, if you wish to look at it like that. And the news has perhaps 50 to 60% of the population that will protect this way of life. And this is where the civil arrest comes into play.
Right. To me, there's a difference between selecting the news you want to hear and having different views, because I think everyone probably, it's fine to have different views, but it should all be based on factual information. And I think that that's the struggle that I'm speaking to, is getting factual information. And not saying everyone should agree upon and have the same view, but you should have the same facts, and views develop from the facts, because everyone can have their own particular view on how to, rise up and meet the challenge to challenging facts and have different solutions, different proposals. I think that's the great way of doing things, as opposed to being spoon-fed information that you consider, an expression that we use is red meat to your viewership. Meaning that's what gets you riled, that's what gets you angry, that's what gets them motivated.
We were not familiar with this red meat terminology, but we would say we agree with you. If they only changed from telling lies to telling the truth, this would foundationally change the system and the nature of the egg itself, so that it does not need to be broken. But it has come to a time that the people have grown too large in their egg shell, and it is time, and they are ready to crack it, because it has become too thick, the eggshell. And because it is too thick, no information is coming through that is true. And because of this, they have become fed up, and they need to come out of the shell. So this rising out of the shell is symbolic, of course, of the change in humanity, which is coming soon enough. And we wanted to tell you of such things to give you opportunity to make preparations.
Okay, let me address another aspect of the sources of information, taking mainstream media out of the equation. Let's say things that come across on television. We then have what, as you know, the internet, which is a great source of information for a lot of people. And then for a lot of people, that is their only source or primary source of information that comes from individuals expressing, I don't know, not even their own opinion, but their own reality. And some people are really drawn in to these claimers of providing information, which is completely false. And it's really taking off as far as in the number of people who are listening to this information and believing this information, when really it's one person making stuff up, coming up with wild conspiracy theories. And people are falling down that rabbit hole.
This is inevitable. But what we would say to that is, what is healthier? In science, in nature, is a system of one species of plant more healthy than a species of 20 different species in one forest system? And to those who are scientifically minded, the answer is the one with the most diversity is the healthiest environment. When one has monoculture, there is flaws in it. It can be ravaged by disease. It can be ravaged by many different things. But when there is cultural diversity, that is different species of plants within one system, they can protect each other. They each provide synergistic effects. And in the same way, these people that are giving their personal truth, they are like one plant sharing some synergy with another plant species. And it is only after you see several of these different people that are speaking their truth, that you come to analyze your own truth and gather your own truth from these particular situations. You do not necessarily need to get your truth from this person, but you can get your truth from another person which resonates more closely with your ideals and beliefs. And that is healthy, as you have the opportunity to pick which belief you wish to believe in, rather than in the circumstance of monoculture, where you do not have the opportunity to change the channel. You do not have the opportunity to see another perspective. And that is where the danger lies.
Well, I think where the danger lies is, I think maybe, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you misspoke. One speaking his or own truth may not be the truth. It's their opinion or it's their belief. And a belief can be very different than the truth. Yeah. And to pick up on your metaphor of having many plants in the forest, which is much healthier than having one plant in the forest, certain plants in the forest can be toxic.
Yes. But what if that one species of plant that is growing by itself in monoculture has grown to such a large rate and that it is somewhat bulletproof because it has been in the system for such a long time and has such deep roots in the system that if it does tell the lie, if it does become corrupt, then nothing around it is large enough to compete against it.
Oh, I completely agree with that. I mean, there needs to be multiple sources of information. And I think what we're struggling with is there are many sources, and it's just trying to get down to what is the truth. And some of these sources are truth. Some of them are half-truths, and some of them are just plain toxic.
Yes.
So in my view, it's the struggle of trying to, it's very difficult to change someone's belief. If someone believes something, whether it's true or not, it's extremely difficult to change their belief because you can't rationalize, you can't, change their mind in any way. It's like convincing someone to change their religion. It's just not going to happen. So you have this deep-seated beliefs in what may be truth, what might not be truth. And that's where this conflict is coming from. Would you agree with that?
We would say that the conflict comes from a desire for the truth. The people want the truth. And just to add to the point which you said regarding religion, religion is another example of a monoculture. It preaches one specific thing over and over and over again. And within the system of religion, whatever it may be, that is what it preaches, regardless of the religion. And that is why religion itself is a flawed system, because one monoculture versus another monoculture, whether it is paganism or it is Christianity or it is the Jewish culture or it is perhaps Muslim, it does not matter. They are all monocultures, with the exception of paganism is somewhat different because there is great diversity within it. But we would also say that there is an issue with these monoculture creations because they have grown in such a great way that they cannot be challenged, but they must be challenged because that is the nature of the system. It must be challenged.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. And I'm just thinking, putting that into context with what we were just previously talking about as far as, media and the truth and the diversity of views of that. Okay, I understand what you're saying about the shell and about there being a filter, and there's frustration among the people about the information that they're receiving, that information can be filtered and that people are not receiving the truth, and that's going to cause an uprising. As you noted, most of it's going to be civil, an uprising, but some may become violent. Is all that correct, what I just said, before we move on?
That was an excellent summation. And the primary reason for us coming forward, we would say make preparations, buy extra food, water, a heat source perhaps, and lighting. And in just case that you are in one of these red zones that are more likely or have greater probability of having uprisings within, then you are safe and secure. You do not need to worry.
To have a disruption that you're referencing, in services, whether it be food or whether it be electricity or what have you. Are these disruptions, are you predicting or are you suggesting that they may come from an attack?
No, we are predicting that it is possible that the government will take control of electrical companies and they may shut off power to particular systems and areas within your vicinity. Perhaps not your vicinity, but a vicinity of someone who may be listening to the broadcast.
Okay, and for what purpose would they do that?
Well, a lot of people use electricity to communicate. If they cannot communicate, then they cannot organize. If they cannot organize, then they cannot plot and plan.
Okay. We've seen this happen in other parts of the world before, even recently and even today even, to where when there are political strifes happening, they don't necessarily shut off the electricity, but they'll shut off communications. They'll shut down phone service and they will shut down internet service to prevent communication, to prevent people organizing, to rise up. Is that what this preventative measure you're suggesting would be an attempt to do, is to prevent a rising up?
There are several different probabilities of things and levels of action that can happen. And we are covering a wide basis of potential events. So yes, initially they may shut down phones and internet, but if it gets terribly bad, then they would shut down electricity as well. Now, we do not want to fearmonger anybody. This is not our intent. Our intent is a message of compassion. We want you to be prepared for situations that may or may not happen to you.
Right. I'm just trying to think of in what situation could that possibly happen. To my knowledge, that hasn't happened to date, but anything is possible. So it's hard for me to imagine that something that extreme would actually occur.
Well, let us hope that it does not, but make preparations just in case.
Okay.
This is our primary message, and this is all that we have for today. Is there anything else that you'd like to know before we leave?
That's a lot to think about for now, I guess. You don't have a secondary message?
We believe that this is enough for now.
Okay. And so you spoke about North America as your primary message. Are there other parts of the world or other countries that you're also have these same concerns?
Not within the same region of time. This is within your near future. But there will be an echo effect affecting other regions of the planet as a result of this. But we cannot talk about this too much.
Okay. And based on what you just told me about what you're saying that's possible to happen here in North America, what's your source of information to be able to come up with this prediction? What is it that you're seeing?
This is an excellent question. We see the consciousness cloud of humanity. We see projections, thoughts, dreams, and that which is within the subconscious mind of humanity. Because we see such things, we can make predictions based off of algorithms and based off of patterns of the past, our understandings of humans, as we have been watching you for several thousands years. It is imperative that we use such patterns to help us make predictions, and that if we can dull the effect of any harm to the humans that we can, then it will be a successful mission on our regard if we are able to spread such a message to you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming through today and giving us this information. We appreciate it.
You are very welcome, and we are here if you need guidance, help, or assistance. We understand that many of you may not know who we are, but we are the Arcturians, and we are here to guide, help you on your journey, to assist you with compassion, enlightenment, and fortitude within, so that you may grow, shine, and develop amongst the people, amongst your neighbors, friends, and comrades, so you can help them grow, and then we can all grow together. So with that in mind, we will return the channel and say goodbye to you for now.
Okay. Blessings, and thank you for coming through.
Blessings to you as well.